So I'm sitting in Annie and Jansen's room, well, laying in their bed, and I was just still. I love to be still, because that's truly when God speaks to you. And I am grateful that He is providing for me at this time, because I tell people all the time, I don't understand how you have a family and you work and you still have time for God in your life, because right now I'm just taking it all in, and I could not imagine doing that and still providing for my family and working. But I was sitting here and I came across the verse of the day, which is Matthew 16:24. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me." Let's back that up a bit. Yeah, we can tell people that all day, take up your cross and follow him. But you need to realize, before any of that, in this verse specific, Jesus was talking to Peter. And Jesus says, "Get away from me, Satan," to Peter, one of his disciples. Like, that's just mind-blowing. Like, even though there are good people, there are Christians in this world, and they may not know it, but Satan can speak through them. And I got a message from a friend who is a Christian, and I respect her, and it actually didn't catch me off guard at all, because I have pondered the thought. But today, I was flipping through my Bible, and I stopped on a page, and I read 3 or 4 paragraphs, and there was my answer. And I shared it with her today because I know she didn't mean anything by it. And it just, like, that was a moment where God was speaking to me. And I love those moments because they always come when you don't expect it. And I'm so grateful for it. But I told her, I laughed it off, and I said, I passed this test. I passed it. And, but back to the story. So just know that even though someone is good and a Christian and they say something, you always have to go to the Word and know what God speaks to us. Because in that moment, just knowing we're humans. So, I mean, these are traits that we can't escape them. Like, Jesus is just the most amazing person because he was human like us, and he was tempted, and he was still able to be sinless. I mean, could you imagine living over 30 years as a human and not sin? Like, in today's society, that's like impossible. So, I got off track again. But, so I went back a little bit, and it says, and this speaks to me, But Jesus says to Peter, and I've been meaning to study more on Peter because, like, to me, like, Peter was like Jesus' right-hand man out of all the disciples. Like, Peter was there through thick and thin, and for Jesus to say, "Get away from me, Satan," to Peter, like, that's huge for me. And he says, "You are a stumbling block before me. You are not thinking about God's story. You are thinking about some distorted story of fallen, broken people." And that's where we as humans, we are broken. And we forget to remember what God taught us in His Word. And that's when we fall into Satan's hands. And we spoke about it today. Like, once you get to that point, like, it just keeps going and going and going. It's just like with my PTSD, when I get stuck in that trauma, it's just a loop that just keeps going and going and going, and you just can't get out of it. Like, that's Satan's grasp on you. So you're not thinking about God's story. Always think about God's story, because it's so easy to forget His story and to listen to these distorted, fallen people. And He said that to His disciples, and that's when He said, if you want to follow me, you must deny yourself the things you think you want. And I spoke about that yesterday, I think, or I've been studying it. I don't know, I'm all over the place. But you must pick up your cross and follow me. And you must deny your things you think you want. There are a lot of things that I think I want, but I know that God has His plan for me. And I'm the most impatient person ever, always have been, and I always felt like such a hypocrite because I always told my kids patience is a virtue. And Kira caught me as she grew older. That little shit, she'd say, "Mama, you always told me patience is a virtue," and I kicked myself in the butt because she was right. But I've learned that being patient, and he is there. He knows our paths, and sometimes we just have to wait for it. And it says, the person who wants to save his life must lose it, and she who loses her life for me will find it. And I said that today to the women in Bible study. I told them I had to lose my entire life. I lost my husband and my children. And that is when it slapped me in the face, like, get your shit together. And there are still some days where I think, if only I would have followed His word, maybe my family would still be here. But He has a plan. He has a purpose. And I wouldn't be touching the lives I'm touching today if I wouldn't have lost them. So I know that my human traits, my human thoughts that say, if only I had, are lies. Because He put me where I am, and I'm grateful for that, because I want to make a difference. And I don't know how many lives I'm going to touch, only He does. And by the time I join my family in heaven, I may have touched hundreds or thousands of people, and that's that many more people that are going to be joining us. And that's what He wants. He wants all of us. He created all of us. He wants His children with Him. It's just, there's my notification. It's time to read. But to finish it, it says, look, does it make sense to truly become successful, but then to hand over your very soul? What is your soul really worth? The Son of Man will come in his Father's glory with his heavenly messengers, and then he will reward each person for what has been done. I tell you this, some of you standing here, you will see the Son of Man come into his kingdom before you taste death. It's just, like that small verse of taking up your cross and following me, just, that doesn't do the story justice. It's just, it took a lot for me to walk away from my family and my family's business. And no one will ever know that fight that I had within me for so long. But when I finally made the decision, God lightened the burden so much on me, and I'm so grateful because I know that I did the right thing. And that's essentially what I felt like. If I stayed within that business, I would have been turning over my soul, and I didn't want that. My soul died working so hard for my Father's company, and I didn't want that anymore. I wish that I could have been there for my family more. I wish they would have experienced my true soul, the one that was spunky and happy and go-lucky, and that, it's a lot. So when you read your verse today and it says, take up your cross and follow me, it's a lot. It's not just saying, yes, I believe that Jesus died for us on the cross. I believe it. I'm gonna follow your word. No, you need to make sacrifices even when you feel like you can't do it, or it's something that you don't want to do, or you think it's going to be too hard, or it's going to ruin you, or whatever it may be. Those are your human traits speaking to you. That is Satan getting into you. And just remember God's word, and He knows what lies ahead for you, and you need to trust that. And I trust that. And like, even today, as you guys have all seen me grow in His word, I honestly, in my soul, I still don't feel like I have fully grasped that concept. I can't go to God and say, here's my cross, I'm going to follow you. I want to, but I don't. I feel like there's so much more that I need to do yet. And He knows that. He knows where I'm at in my soul. He knows what's in my mind. And He knows that I'm doing the best that I can. And some people may say, Carrie, you're doing absolutely magnificent, like beyond words. But to me, I just don't feel like I'm being the best that I can for Him. And that's why I continue to study and I continue to read. Because I'm finding my way with Him. And he may think that what I'm doing now is good enough, but I don't think that I'm doing good enough. So I'm going to continue to strive and accept the fact that I have taken up the cross and I followed him.